Hello everyone. In today's video, I was going to be doing my Tears of the Kingdom playthrough series. At the start of the game, they give players pretty much max hearts and max stamina. But you'll see why, because they're not, of course, going to start you off with max everything, including the Master Sword and the Champion's Leathers. That's what this set is called. As you can see, the first part of the game, Link's just exploring underground of Zelda, as everybody was assuming in the trailers. So now we're just going to continue. I've already done this, but if you want to, you could just run past Zelda and continue going. But she'll, of course, stop you to tell you stuff. The area here is kind of like a tutorial almost, where they tell you how to move your camera and stuff like that. And how to fight enemies. Now Zelda's going to continue going on with Link down into these caverns, which I'm just going to skip through it. This little starting area takes a while, but yeah. As you can see, she keeps saying Link to stop it going and telling Link all this different stuff. I'm just kind of skipping through all the dialogue and stuff just to prevent spoilers, although there is gameplay spoilers in this. Now over here, there are going to be 3 keys. They're real easy to beat. After you defeat all the enemies, Zelda's going to tell you about the stuff on the wall, all the pictures and stuff, and what they mean. This little area right here, with all the stuff that the walls that you could blow up, we'll have to come back to that later in the game. Now the player will start to see the Gloom, which is basically the new game's improved version of Malice, where this time it hurts more. Although the Gloom here is just like a fog and it doesn't actually damage the player. But now going down into this little dark room over here, we'll start the next main part of the story, which I'll just be skipping it. As you can see, this is the arm from the trailers. Now Zelda's going to ask Link if he's ready to go. You just gotta click OK, but I'm going to skip the cutscenes and tell y'all what happens after. Alright, after that longest cutscene ever, taking like 4 minutes, or like 5 minutes, I finally came back to the game. Basically what happened is, after Ganondorf woke up, Link and Zelda, the floor started breaking, then Zelda fell, but then she picked up this stone as well, which then sent her back in time, and now Link's up in the Sky Islands, because that hand that they show in the trailers saved Link. But Ganon, when he was using the Gloom effect on Link, took away a bunch of his hearts and stamina. And as you can see, the Master Sword's broken. The decayed Master Sword was actually a concept for Breath of the Wild that never got added in the game, although they added it in Tears of the Kingdom. In original Breath of the Wild, in the game files, there's a sword that you can spawn, which is the Broken Master Sword, which only does 1 attack damage. As you can see, they added that in Tears of the Kingdom. Although the player won't be able to have this sword for long. Now Link's going to use one of his new arm abilities to unlock the Travel Gate, which we'll have to come back to later, because they don't give you teleporting like right at the start of the game like they did in Breath of the Wild. Same thing with the paraglider. As you can see, these wheels will activate, but you're going to want to keep an eye on those, because we'll come back to those later. Not that sure if y'all can hear on the video the dog barking in the background. It's our neighbors, so sorry about that. Now this is kind of like the Shrine of Resurrection from Breath of the Wild. You just gotta run through it. pretty basic and easy. They're not going to give you too hard of challenges. As you can see, we're jumping down. Over here is an extra high jump, which is kind of, I guess, showing the player the skydiving. Not 100% sure. Okay, now you could open this chest, which you're going to get the archaic legwear or footwear, whatever it's called. Which then it's going to say you can use your inventory now to use all your stuff. Now we're going to run out just like in Breath of the Wild, but we're not going to be looking over the horizon and seeing the old man there. Well, that's what you would have done in Breath of the Wild, but in Tears of the Kingdom, you're just jumping down onto the Great Sky Island. Well, the area that the player starts in is technically part of it, but yeah. As you can see, there's a snowy area down there, just like in Breath of the Wild. This Great Sky Island's pretty much like the Great Plateau from Breath of the Wild. Which then is going to do what it did in Breath of the Wild, where it says the game title. And now they're going to trust the player to skydive themselves and not fall and get hurt. Just don't fall on the lily pads in there, because I'm pretty sure you'll die if you fall on those. You can hold top right to speed up your process if you don't want to be waiting in the skies forever. As you can see, we're on the Great Sky Island, and this is like officially starting the journey for the player, where they're allowed to do whatever they want. The tree branch actually right now does more damage than the Master Sword, so I'll just use that. Although you don't have Fuse at the start of the game, which is that ability where you can get to combine stuff to make cool new weapon combinations. Although, like I say, we currently don't have it. We're picking up some sky shrooms, and we'll fight our first enemy right now. Which is pretty easy. Which, as you can see, he dropped this stick, and he's been defeated. We got the Soldier Construct Horn, which adds a good amount of damage to weapons, and a Zonai Charge. The Zonai Charge item is like basically extra batteries, where it gives the player a little bit of charge on their devices. There's a bigger Zonai Charge, which I guess these are kind of like the ancient cores of Tears of the Kingdom, except that they're really common in this new game. As you can see, we're going to activate this next thing over here. Actually, I believe... Yeah, we're talking to the construct over here. This is the one everyone saw in the trailers that assumed that it was an enemy. And it does kind of look like an enemy up first. This one's name is Steward Construct. All the constructs that look like the one that's on screen now are all called Steward Constructs. Which this one in particular is giving Link the Pura Pad, which is basically this game's version of the Sheikah Slate, without the remote bombs or anything like that. It just has some simpler runes and shows the map. Which now it's going to tell the player that they can click minus to open it. The Steward Construct's kind of like the old man in this game, except that there are multiple stewards, as you can see one to the right at that little building over there. I'll show you all right now. As you can see, there's another one, which now they want the player to activate this. Which then that's going to unlock the bridge over here. It's kind of cool how this bridge assembles, as you can see. Alright, now we're going to head on to the Temple of Time over there, which is, there's two of them. There's actually one on the surface, as you know, in Breath of the Wild, But in Tears of the Kingdom, there's one over there, as you can see. Which, personally, I saw this Temple of Time in all the trailers and stuff, and I wondered what was there. To my surprise, there's barely anything, but I'll show you all in a minute. You're just gonna jump down. If you can catch one of these frogs, that's good. It's not necessary or anything, but still. There's some of those constructs. A lot of these can be avoided. Don't worry about all the fog on the screen. It's just like that on the Great Sky Island, because it's in the skies, so a lot of the clouds will travel through here. This next part's a little bit tricky because they're giving you 2 enemies to fight, although they're not too hard to fight. Since this is almost damaged, I'm just gonna throw it at him. They're gonna do their aggravation animation, which, as you can see, they just spin their head around, alerting others. But as you can see, they're almost defeated. If they do that attack, just run away from it for now until you can block it with a shield. Oh, I missed my shot there. Just gotta keep beating that one. Got his wooden stick. Which now we can finish off this next construct. Which these wooden sticks do 4 damage, so it's kind of like the Bakugo clubs from Breath of the Wild, except these do more damage and are easier to find. As you can see, we made it over here, which is kind of like a guide series, kind of like my last one. Over here, he'll allow you to grab the Sky Shroom. As you can see, he'll say, I roasted that, but it's yours if you want it. And then Link can ask him about roasting stuff, which then, right now would be a good time for you, because there's not a lot of food options at the start of the game. You can just throw these in the fire, because the player's going to find a lot of extra items and resources throughout the game. Oh yes, by the way, they added a cookbook. If you click check recipe on any item, it's going to show you how to make it. But as you can see, I'm just throwing every last food item I have in the fire, so that way it can get cooked. Just so I don't run out of health too fast. Almost wasn't able to get those in time. If it were a cooking pot, I would have said to just cook them with the cooking pot, but since it's not, just roast them on the ground for now. As you can see, all our food's been cooked, except the frog. We'll have to have a monster part of some sorts in order to cook that. Now we just gotta climb up here. It isn't too hard. You just gotta continue walking up. And of course climbing. As you can see, there's gonna be a bit of a harder enemy with a shield, which you're gonna want that shield and sword. A little tip for players is that if you're doing a flurry rush and you already defeated the enemy and you're still in the animation where you're allowed to hit them, don't continue hitting them because it wastes weapon durability. That's just something that I learned. Well, I've known it for a long time, but it still applies to this game. Now the player's going to try opening this door, I believe. After that, once the player tries to open the door and it doesn't work, the first King of Hyrule is going to show up to the player, well, his ghost anyways, and it's going to tell him that Link needs to activate the one of the shrines, or all of them. I forgot what he said. But anyways, basically you're just going to do what you did in Breath of the Wild and get all the shrines. Which there wasn't too much of a way down. Well, as you can see, I didn't have to take damage. So now we're just going to head on to the first one. You can crouch down here, which is actually some free arrows in the ground if you look for them. Which these will come in handy later, as you know, since they're arrows. Enemies do a lot of damage in this new game, so it's good to pick up as much food as you can, just hoarding everything that you can find. I'm going to try sneak striking this enemy, although I don't think it works that well. on this one, yeah. Although you drop the player's first bow, which it does 4 attack damage, so it's pretty much the equivalent of the Bako bow from Breath of the Wild. Oh, that's the spear. I'll save onto the spear for now. Which now we're just gonna run up this staircase and over here and get our first Sheikah rune. Well, it's not the Sheikah rune, but the new ones from the new game. There's some of these rush rooms on here. You could pick these. There's an extra one down there, as you can see. Although I'm just trying to make the video go faster, so I'm not gonna actually grab that. Be careful not to fall when you're around here, because you don't want to have to go through that staircase again. As you can see, first shrine over here. Which, as you can see, a door is going to open up inside of the shrine. They're pretty much the same as regular Breath of the Wild shrines. But yeah, now I'm going to go inside. Now, instead of activating the terminal, the first King of Hyrule, he's going to show up and give Link the ability. Which is probably one of the most fun abilities. Kind of looks like one of those Zonai charges in Link's hand. Or like one of those spirit orbs. As you can see, it goes in the Link's arm. And yeah. Now we can build stuff with the Ultra Hand. Which is basically like a upgraded Magnesis that allows you to build your own stuff. Alrighty. Which is kind of like the Magnesis Shrine of this puzzle right here, where you just got to build yourself a bridge. And then they're going to show you how to stick items together. Just like that. As you can see, it uses some super glue like green stuff to glue everything together. Over here's a chest. It's optional, but you can grab it if you want. I'm actually curious to know what's inside because it's been a while since I've done this shrine. Amber. Amber's gone down in value in the new game. It used to be 30 rupees in Breath of the Wild, but now it's only worth 10. But as you can see, it's changed shape to be more like a blade. So that way the player can use it as a weapon. And here's a pretty simple mechanic, what they want the player to do. You just gotta attach the hook to the giant board, and then you can hop on it and ride it down. And as you can see, that's where the end of the shrine's gonna be. You can see all the green swirls and blue transition into the blue swirls on there. They're on the outside of the shrine. Once you get the spirit orb inside of the shrine, then it goes away on the outside. So in order to get rid of the outside visual effect of all the green swirls, and to know that you beat the shrine, they'll be gone once you complete it. Now the first King of Hyrule is gonna, I think, tell Link to get the others. And he'll tell you that you can use your scope to kind of use it how you would in Breath of the Wild. Which we're gonna need that one over there in the cold area. And I'm looking for it. I don't see it in that direction. Oh, there it is. And over there. We're gonna head to the blue one first. I'm just gonna see how far I can go because the video's already taking a little while. But that's just because it's like the first starting area of the game with all the cutscenes and stuff. I'll edit it down later to be shorter. As you can see, we have a nice sturdy bridge here. When picking apples on trees, you have a chance of finding golden apples, kind of like Minecraft, which they don't restore a lot of, well, they actually restore more health than regular apples, but yeah. Here you'll actually see the first King of Hyrule standing there as an NPC, although I don't think, yeah, he doesn't react to you holding weapons in his direction. But you're allowed to keep this wood, Which now over here we need to get over there, which they want the player to build a bridge with the axe that they found right here. So you just gotta cut it down. We got a Korok frond, or Korok frond. That's not gonna work. We need an extra tree. There's actually some free wood over here. Didn't realize that. Now just carefully walk along your very safe, very sturdy bridge. And now we're going to continue. I think there's some free arrows and a bow over here, which that's a hunting construct. He's looking out for animals, which I'm actually going to defeat one of them. Oh, I accidentally talked to him. The controller was drifting a little bit. Gonna cook it in the grass. There we go. I was able to defeat that animal. Which I got some raw meat. Now over here we can cross the river. Over there's a quirk seed. You could have gone that way and then climbed up there if you wanted to. I'm just skipping it just to make the video go by quicker. Now if you have anything you want to cook with a pot, now would be your time to do so. But I already roasted a bunch of stuff and I haven't taken damage, I don't think. So I'll be good for now. Now I'm going to climb up here and jump down. Which is, you'll see some constructs right there. You don't have to necessarily worry about them. You can just kind of walk past them in this direction, even though one of them's chasing me. Right here, there's a waterfall, which you can just jump down, like so. Which is actually a special fish here, which we'll need a bit later in the game. I believe that's an arowana. I think that's what the fish is called. Anyways, next, Nintendo's going to want the player to grab this axe over here, maybe cut down their own trees. If you're wondering why the outline of it is blue on the player's inventory, that's because it's a fused weapon combination. Even though the player doesn't have the ability, the constructs made themselves their own axe. The wind's blowing in that direction, so all you gotta do is put your boat on the water and sail it over. Which I should have added a third log, but that's fine. I'm just saving resources. Alrighty. We're just going to continue heading over there. The fish I was telling you all about, make sure you save that because you're going to need it way later in the game. It's going to be for the Zora part of the game, where you do the dungeon to help free all the Zoras. Here you can also defeat these birds if you wanted to get even more food. At this rate you can just swim over. Which now we're just going to climb up this little route right here and get up to the shrine. Now we're going to go beat this shrine. Same thing as last time. He's going to give us the ability. Which this is the fuse one that allows you to create your own weapons. It's really, it's pretty much mandatory to use fuse if you want powerful weapons in this game, because the player will see why later. As you can see, we got the fuse ability. Which they give you a sword for this part because they know the player's going to need it. As you can see, we're smashing stuff. We'll leave on this pillar right here, there's a chest. Yep, I think it has some arrows inside of it. Or it had something else. I just can't remember. Oh yeah, it was arrows. I was going to equip my axe that I had equipped it earlier. You don't need to have your fuse rune out in order to use the fire fruit fuse. Which fire fruit is basically this game's new equivalent of fire arrows. Simply, when you're changing runes in the old game, you tap the top of your plus pad. In this game, you just hold down top left, which is the one you use for it. Basically, like if you're changing your rune in the old game, this is basically how you'd select your stuff, by holding the top of your plus pad and then going on the thing you wanted. Which, as you can see, we have the fire fruit, which will release the chest for us. There's lots of cool fuse combinations to try out, so don't forget to try out anything that you find. Which we actually needed this. It's the small key. Pretty sure this is the only one in the game, unless there are more of them, although I don't remember there being any others in the other shrines. Just like the bridge earlier, there's this little like cage-like thing that opens up. Which, the next part is kind of like a mini boss fight that's real easy. Just like the bow fusing, you can actually throw stuff in this new game by holding the throw option. Which, as you can see, I'll be holding the fire fruit. Here, as you can see, there's a captain construct, which these ones will typically find stuff to fuse to their weapon and then use it on the player. Which basically here, they want the construct to approach the player, although this one's just shooting at me first before he comes after me. Which then you're going to catch the leaves on fire, which will catch him on fire. This one really isn't too hard of an enemy. As you can see, we got a construct bow, which does 1 more damage than the other ones. The Captain Construct Horn does 5 damage to any weapon that you add it to. I'm going to get rid of this tree branch. Before you ask, you cannot drop the Master Sword. Up here, I believe, yeah, that's the free weapons, including these spikes, which are most preferred to be added to your shield. That'd be the player's chance to combine stuff with other stuff, whatever they want to do. You can't fuse stuff to the Decayed Master Sword, though, which would, be this one. Because it'll say that the weapon's too damaged. Although that doesn't stop you from doing damaged weapons, like when the game says that weapon's badly damaged and you need to use it. Alright, I can use this boulder hammer. Which now we get to the end. When the player leaves this shrine, the steward construct from at the start of the game will come to Link and say that he had something else to give to Link that he forgot to. Which the new Sheikah Slate object in the new game, as you can see, is this battery bank. Well, it's called an energy cell, but it works like a battery bank that's portable. If you use up all the charge on it, don't worry, because it can be restored by just standing there. Basically, it's kind of like the player's stamina. Now, they'd expect the player to have seen this, which then the player can hammer open now and get the chest. Which, as you can see, Link hurt his foot right now. 5 arrows. Next thing we're going to be, in the next episode, we're going to be getting the other runes and trying to get off the Great Sky Island. But I've already gone through a good amount of time right now. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Goodbye.